fighter stands in the grand hall. Coming up from the darkness, a horror that will befoul the earth. The kingdom beyond is not prepared. Fail here, and thousands will die screaming. The stakes of the story are a fundamental question your players should know the answer to, that you should make them reckon with. What do we stand to lose if we fail? Ooh, that was dramatic. Hi, I'm Christian. Welcome to Crowland, a narrative gaming channel where we break down the craft of storytelling in ttrpg. And today we're talking about a powerful tool that we haven't really ever brought up before, the stakes of any action for players and NPCs. A stake is a thing or things of value that is at risk in a situation. The stake in a game of cards is money. The stakes in a game of sport is victory. What are stakes and why do we need them? Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. Stakes in narrative are the answer to that simple question: what does a character stand to lose if they fail? Why do you as a GM want to encourage stakes? Well, because without them, there's less tension, there's less urgency, less emotional investment in a scene. A fight with no risk feels like accountancy work, it's busy work. I don't know if you've ever had this, especially in a D&D type game where it's just two guys rolling D20 at each other. Boring. A choice with no cost is meaningless. Stakes make success feel triumphant, and stakes make failure feel devastating. And that is what keeps players on the edge of the seats. That is what we want. High stakes gaming. They're not just something bad might happen. Good stakes are specific, meaningful, and personal. A cost the PCs will pay if they lose their conflict. PCs should have something to lose, and sometimes they should lose it. If a hero charges into a dragon's lair, the stakes aren't vaguely, well, things could go wrong. The dragon could kill you. That's just a risk. Stakes are if you fail, the dragon burns your hometown and everyone you love dies. On a smaller scale, fail this persuasion check and the guard will arrest you and you'll be separated from the party for ages. There's a couple of ways to create stakes, but I think that we're going to start at the biggest ones. Create stakes that are tying consequences directly to the PCs. What do your PCs care about? What are their goals, their relationships, their beliefs, their flaws? Do you know their backstory? Once you know these things as a GM, you should threaten them. During character creation or session 0, make sure that your players have an answer to the question, what does this character fear losing the most? Now, as I'm running a game, I tend to give each PC a little bit of the spotlight per session. Sometimes we might progress somebody's backstory, or they might get a one-on-one scene with an important NPC, or they might do some crafting. Their patron might be displeased and torments them, and I get to do like a fun 15-minute long role-playing scene of like, Warlock, you have failed. No, Master, no. Loads of fun. I avoid making one PC the star of the entire session, though. It's too boring for everyone else. Just little, I call them the I'm ready for my close-up Mr. DeMille moments, I look for what the PC cares about during those moments. Who do they like in the party? Who is their special little friend? What goals do they have? Which I then put in danger because being a GM, it's a societally approved way to just deal with all your worst impulses and make them fun. Of course, stakes don't always have to arise from backstory. They can be very situational. If you don't protect the Halfling Ambassador during this session tonight, the Farming Alliance is in danger and hundreds may starve. If you can't get the Giants to piss off out of this region, they are going to displace the entire Dwarven culture. This emphasis on stakes is worth it because when the red dragon you failed to cage rises up, the PCs that are going to die by fire, you know them. You've joked with them. You've worked with them. You've been to their house. You've called them on the phone. If you risk destroying your grandfather's blade by battling the Ice Lord, the blade that's fundamental to your character's backstory, you will approach that fight with a far grander emotional stakes because if the Ice Lord can shatter the blade, well, you failed your grandfather, haven't you? How to best start introducing stakes? Okay, now, to do this, I'm going to have to, don't be scared, I'm going to have to offer a few minor criticisms of D&D. I know, I'm so sorry. But you've got to understand is that D&D, it's a very old technology. It's a 486 PC. It's a dial-up modem. It's a fucking tape deck, you know? The best modern TTRPGs are built around making stakes constant and making stakes visible. It is a hallmark of the best modern game design to work themselves around dramatic and narrative concepts like risks and stakes. Empowered by the Apocalypse games, Dungeon World, Apocalypse World, everything that a PC does is called a move, and every move has built-in stakes. So average powered by the Apocalypse, you roll 2d6, add your mods. When you get a roll of 10 plus, that's a success. That's clean. You've done it. On a 7 to 9, you've succeeded, but with a complication. The GM gets to add a cost to your overall success. On a 6 or lower, you miss completely. It's gone wrong. But also, the GM then makes a hard move against you. Something genuinely bad happens. No holding back. Games like Cypher, Fate, 7th Sea, all of these allow the stakes to be raised whenever the GM or the players want. These sorts of systems let the players escalate the stakes themselves whenever they like. Imagine that GMs offloading some of the responsibility to keep things exciting onto the players. This fail-forward philosophy means failure doesn't stop the story, it advances it, usually by raising the stakes. You miss your hack and slash? Notice it doesn't just hit you, it gets past you and grabs your friends to drag them towards the pit. Rules working to create and support opportunities for improvisation is the best that ttrpg gets. It is bloody lovely jubbly. Blades of the Dark. I love this one. I think this is such a good idea. Stakes are tracked with clocks, visible progress bars for threats that will attack the PCs eventually, or come for the PCs. Cult completes ritual will have a clock. Rival gang declares war will have a clock. Heat, the blue coats are closing in, has a clock. Every risky action or consequence ticks those clocks forward. Players can literally see the stakes rising in real time. Morkborg has the Apocalypse Watch ticking down to the end of the entire world. In these games, every time you pick up a dice, the consequences can be very, very dangerous to you. You need to be careful about what you do. I think that is really exciting role-playing. Now, in D&D and similar games, generally speaking, you won't have any kind of inbuilt rules for narrative, but you don't necessarily need them. A great GM sets stakes explicitly before rolls, so it's not just like, okay, well, roll to climb that wall, but it's more, all right, roll to climb that wall, but if you fail, you will land in that acid pit below, you will take damage, and your magic items that you were wearing very well may be destroyed. Stakes, drama, excitement. You don't need specialty mechanics to raise the stakes. Just say that they're raised. The key difference from stories to TTRPGs is that players help define the stakes. One of the other fun things about TTRPG is, also you can not take the risk. Sometimes you don't have to work to narrative rules. You have connection. You have control over the story. That personal connection makes stakes harder than any pre-written story ever could. But you know what would create a personal connection between me and you? Hitting the like button. Go on, I never get any likes. I would like a like. Please give me a like. Okay, implementing stakes. It's a very simple protocol. The golden rule, always make the stakes clear before the action or roll. Say it out loud. If you fail this, the ritual completes and the Elder God awakens. If you succeed, you may stop it. But if you don't, you will very probably die here. Clarity from the GM turns a mechanical roll into a dramatic moment. Quick note, no gotchas, not ever. It is dirty cricket from a GM. Let players understand the stakes before they commit an action. It is important, otherwise you are not really GMing fantastically. Respect your players' experiences as players. Use multiple forms of stakes and risk. If you are just having like an emotional scene between you and an NPC, that's the personal stakes, emotions, truth coming out. you getting what you want, you manipulating the person correctly, those are the stakes. If you are doing a game with a lot of politics, what does your faction that you represent or want to join have to lose in any given situation? Give wisely and take away cruelly in all these kinds of scenarios. You always want there to be a stake, but not necessarily just for the PC, but for everything that a PC is trying to achieve. I think that you should, even if you're just playing a D&D type game with no narrative mechanics built in, let failures create new stakes. A botched heist doesn't end the game. Suddenly, you really want to get into a desperate escape. Vendettas, the people who hired you to do the heist are very angry that you did not do the heist, and they are very dangerous people. I think here's a little tip that will always add stakes and tension to a game. No matter what actual system you're using, make hit points 0, death. No saves, none of that. There needs to be a simple and dramatic terminator, not lose that last point and you might die, but we'll do like a whole little mini game so that you can come back. No, that last point means that you can't play the game anymore. As a GM, you should play hard. As GM, you should play soft. You should play nice. Doesn't really matter. But when you lose that last hit point, you are dead is a good rule. It is a really good way to keep the stakes sharp in players' minds. Offer devil's bargains. Do it all the time. I do this all the time. I especially like doing this with the critical hits and misses in combat. Tell the player, okay, I'll give you a bonus die, but you might be possessed for a moment by that devil over there. You're going to take up the offer? Players, choose the higher stakes as well. It's gold if you really get into the spirit of it. If you have something to lose, you will enjoy that character much more. Players, just lean in, just get into it. Stakes aren't about punishing players, they're about making every choice matter. In ttrpgs, they transform random dice rolls into meaningful drama and shared triumphs. Legendary failures your party will talk about for ages to come. They're about making everything more important, everything more dramatic. High stakes is what gets your players to put down their fucking phones and give you their undivided attention. All right, there you go. Next time you're at the table, pause before a big moment and ask, what are we really risking here? Make it clear, make the stakes hurt, and watch the stories ignite. And watch the phones get put down. All right. What's this highest stakes moment you've ever had in a game? Drop it into the comments. I read all the comments, and I often reply. So thanks for listening. Like, share, and subscribe. Go make some unforgettable consequences. And next time, I think we're just going to talk about Star Wars D6 or something. All right. I love you. Goodbye.